have today is called a shrink wrapped egg. It's basically a chick that has pipped more than 24 hours ago. So in this case, it's what, almost 3 days now? Close. I still think it's closer to 2 days. Anyhow, due to the environments or whatever, humidity, whether it's a deformity inside the egg or deformity of the chick itself, its survival rate right now is about 2% at best. Normally you don't want to go after the egg and help it along. You want to let nature take its course. But in this case, nature taking its course, it's going to die. Of the 8 chicks I've done this with, only one has ever made it. That said, we're going to try. To start off, we have our egg. Get it out of the incubator. And you can see that the little one's made an effort to get out. And if you look close, there it is. Hear it? Wants out. Bad.
Strong voice.
So, we have a small saucer of hot water with some Q-tips in it. What we're going to do is make sure we see that its beak is right there. We're going to take the hot water, test it like you do a baby bottle, make sure it's not going to burn you or the baby. And we're going to start to moisten some of the crack lines on the egg. And then you can see all the goo. That's the actual inner membrane of the eggshell that has stuck to the chick, and that's why it can't get out. Again, some more water on the cracks. Start with the cracks, and then work your way towards the membrane. That way the membrane doesn't split open, peel, pull a blood vessel, and it's over before you can even start. Too much water, take the other side of the Q-tip. Let's see. A couple more here. And what the water does is it rehydrates that membrane. Like I said, the worst thing you could do right now is force the membrane to expand or shrink in any way too fast. Take a blood vessel out. Then you've got a mess. Then we're going to start dabbing a little bit of water on the membrane. This will take you a while. In this case, we have an excited customer. It's making noise, which is encouraging to me. It's a good sign. Very few at this point tend to make any noise. There's been a couple occasions where by the time I get them free, it's over. So we'll just have to see how this one goes. It takes a bit for the water to seep into the membrane. This is a very slow and tedious process. So once I have the membrane started here and some moisture on the egg, I'll actually take and swaddle it in some paper towels and a washcloth while I work so that the baby maintains heat, because right now she's losing heat. I don't want to take too much longer, but I got to get a little more water on the egg. Eggs are porous, as you might know, so all this water you're sliming over it is going to seep through the pores in the egg into the membrane. Listen to her talk. I know. Yeah. The director said my thumb's in the way. Don't know what you're talking about. Okay, that Q-tip is pretty much done. Don't reuse Q-tips. Yeah, it's just like, stick one in your nose, rub in your ear. Bad idea. You should see the looks from the director right now. She's rolling her eyes at me. And smiling.
I'm chuckling.
I have a sense of humor. How professional it is and how appropriate.
With how accident prone your family is, you have to have a sense of humor.
Yeah. If my life were an egg, this would be me. A little more water. That would be my oldest. Wants to watch. And be underfoot. Poor guy doesn't quite have the stomach for this though. His sister, on the other hand, wow. Alright, that's about as much time as I want to kill with that. And we're going to wrap paper towel around our little baby.
And then we'll moisten that too.
Yep. Once I get the towel wrapped, we'll moisten the top. And then we're going to wrap it in a washcloth just to make sure. Some water.
Probably should have moistened it first.
Nope.
No.
This is how we do it. That way I don't get any undue moisture in it. Too much and you'll drown the poor thing. So, a little at a time. The worst thing right now is to give it a chill. So we're going to take and wrap up just as much as we can. If you can keep your fingers dry, your body heat will transfer to the egg and in turn to the chick, kind of like a little furnace. Alright, so earlier we took our tweezers and disinfected them. There's the camera. They're not the best, but they'll work. And this is the tedious process. This is where you can really make some trouble. We're going to gently move some pieces of shell. See? Of course, there's the camera. Little piece. Into our little trash bag. Oh, and some more water. I don't know if the camera can pick this up. But you can see, yeah, I'm looking at the thing here. You can see the membrane. You can see the natal down of the chick and some yolk, which is probably how this problem started. It's what I would call a yolker, where the chick pips before it's absorbed all of its egg yolk and really not ready to hatch. There's a number of reasons that can happen. Typically incorrect temperatures, an incubator that was too warm at one point, which we did have some temperature control issues this year, and sometimes nature just plays a hardball. But looking at this guy, had we not taken the effort to do this, it would have been a death sentence. So, for everyone crying foul about us doing this chick was a goner to start with.
At least this way he gets a chance.
Yeah. That's not to say that this might not have a deformity or another issue that was preventing it from hatching, but I wanted to be a vet when I was younger, so I have a heart. Alright, we're going to break the shell, checking to make sure we don't have any red, which would be a blood vessel. Bad thing. Take another piece.
The one that did survive ended up hatching right in your hand too.
Yeah.
That was one of our strongest chicks.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got the membrane with this one, but the membrane is still tucked to the chick. So, take some water, dab it on there just a little bit. I know, little one, I know. Let that sit for a bit, and we'll find another point on the egg that we can play with. I'm not really touching the baby. What you hear is her reaction to her beak hitting the shell or hearing the egg crack. The little one wants out badly. And I don't know if you guys can see the beak move there. So every time the little one hears the crack, it gets excited. Okay, that piece I was working on just came free. And it's like this for a little while. Alright, we're gonna rotate the egg here. Unfold her a little bit. See if any part down here has softened up. It's starting to. This entire crack here was as hard as the eggshell itself when we started. Right now it's kind of like a flexible leather. So it's starting to moisten up. Which is good, because this is what's keeping the chick from getting out of her box here. I call it a her until I know.
You don't always help it all the way to crack out. Sometimes we just help clean up the zip area and put it back in the incubator, and it pops out by its own.
That's the ideal situation. If you can get some of the crack started, get the bird freed from its leather binds, and it finishes the pip and the zip on itself or on its own, that's ideal. Your survival rates are higher at that point. Alright, I gotta be careful now because the chick has positioned its chest right here, and so I gotta be careful with the tweezers so I don't nick her in any way. I just want to take and pry the shell. I don't want to tear the membrane for fear that the membrane stuck to her and might take a blood vessel with it. There we go. Itty bitty pieces. See what the difference in the membrane is. See, this is where's the camera? Right here, this small little section here is what the membrane should look like. That's what the bird can get through and tear apart and escape from. But when it's white like this, that's leather. That's like saran wrap for a baby. Industrial strength. Poor little things don't have a chance.
The chicks in the other room are calling to this one.
Oh, I bet. It's got a good voice.
Well, they were talking too, and they were all in the incubator.
Beautiful. See that? How the membranes, you don't see We'll swab it just with a little bit of water just to be sure, but see, there's no color change. That's good. If we saw a crimson line or a change from white to yellow, that would indicate a shrink wrap baby, which we are dealing with, but that section of membrane is still pliable. So, as long as there is no blood or crimson, we're going to keep picking away to help this little one escape. I keep getting it out of camera. See? Sorry, little one. Somebody accidentally stuck it with the tweezers. I don't know if the camera can see it, but there's white here where the membrane has dried up. And that's what the little baby is fighting against. It's trying to get away from that. What I really want to do is get a crack line all the way around the egg. And then we'll set this little one in a position in the back of the incubator. And we'll give her about an hour or two to see if she can get out on her own, or if this process needs to be repeated. Looking at this eggshell, or the membrane here, it's still white. It's dry. In fact, it's coming off with the eggshell as I pick at it.
You might have one that hatches in your hand again.
Yeah, I might have to finish this one by hand. So far, it's looking good.
Healthy cries, though.
Yeah. I don't see any blood vessels in the membrane.
Or unabsorbed yolk.
Yep, there's no smell. Which they're all good signs. But you don't count your babies till they're hatched.
And in the brooder for more than a couple days.
Yeah. As the membrane rehydrates, it sticks to the tweezers pretty bad.
Oh, looks like your membrane wants to come up now.
Yep.
Are we back around by the beak again?
We're working around the air side of the air sac side of the yolk. So it would be the top because they point down. Pull that membrane. Since it's loose. Normally you don't just grab the membrane and pull. It's a good way to skin the chick, and then it's again game over. But we started by softening that dried out spot that stuck to her.
And checked for crimson lines first.
Yep. And like our video director said, Tilly over there, we checked for blood lines before we started. Now, if you were to start this process, and after swabbing the membrane, if you had red lines, stop. The bird has not absorbed all the nutrients, liquids, the yolk, etc., from the membrane. And cutting into it at that point is like taking a newborn off the umbilical cord while it's still in the womb. It's a bad deal. Because those blood vessels attach the baby to the membrane. The membrane in turn provides all the sustenance to the baby, at least until it hatched out. There's still a residual yolk that the baby lives off of for, 72 hours? So, that's why they can ship them after they hatch. But if you were to pull that membrane, you're taking away from the baby's food store. Alright, see if we can find some membrane here.
I think it's been coming with the shell for the most part.
Most of it, but there's some here.
I don't see any.
This whole thing.
There we go.
You can see how with the water it becomes quite visible. So.
Maybe she's silently going, that tickles. Hee hee. She really wants to get out, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. Well, she was the second one to pip. We've had how many hatch in the last day and a half? 4.
Counting the one before her, there was a total of 5 that are out.
So she wants to see her broodmates. We might just make that possible here.
She's like, it's go!
Yeah.
Even though it's warm in here. But
we almost got the cap off.
you know, if she hatches out, will you stick her in the incubator?
Yeah,
or will you stick her in the brooder?
For a couple hours until she starts to waddle around. At this, she should have hatched a day or so ago. So when she gets out, she's going to have some trouble standing up, getting around. Because in the egg, they never stop growing. Even though she's in the egg right now and she hasn't eaten or drank anything, she's still taking some of that residual membrane, or the nutrients from the membrane in the yolk. She's still growing. A chick, in their first 20 to 30 hours out of the egg, their tendons grow and actually contract, and then their feet position gets malformed if they're not out of the egg. And in this case, because she's been trapped so long, those tendons have already started to shrink. So she might have some trouble walking around. Again, had we not even tried, a couple hours from now this bird would not even be making noise, so.
Can't see anything.
I know.
Tiny. She's getting there.
I mean, a little liberal with the water, because the membrane is still on her. I'm going to try and pull the membrane here in just a little bit. And then get her into the incubator. But I need to. This is what we have so far. So I can grab the membrane, which is being really stubborn. What do we have here? Interesting. Well, you're not going to be able to see it on camera, I don't think. But right here we have a blood vessel. Of course, the camera can't see it because I'm nuts. It's right here. There's one right there. The trouble is, this whole thing here is membrane. And because it's glued here, she's stuck. So I'm going to attempt to grab the membrane on the one side here and just gently tear it. But not completely. I don't want to snag that blood vessel. There we go. I just want to pull it away a little bit. it helps that we're doing this on a warm day too, here in the kitchen.
House is nice and toasty.
Yep. I wouldn't have as long a working time if it wasn't warmer, or if it was colder, I should say.